Hey YouTube, it's Adam from I'm a Music Mogul, and welcome to another remake video. Today, we're going to be remaking the track iSpy by Kyle featuring Lil Yachty, so let's get straight to it. First things first, let's set our tempo to the correct one, and the correct one is 150 beats per minute. And we're going to start off with a 4-bar pattern that is our piano sound that is pretty much heard throughout the entire track. So I'm going to bring in Logic's Yamaha Grand Piano. Let's bring that in right now, and let's go ahead and draw in that pattern. Alright, so far so good. This pattern essentially duplicates itself for the next 2 bars. And just these last 2 notes change over here. And it goes from an F to an E. Alright, so that's pretty much the pattern right there, but I just want to make this a little bit more human, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and offset the notes from each other. So I'm going to take the second note in the chord, and I'm going to offset it from the first note in the chord by an ever so slight margin. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the third note in the chord. Ooh. And we're going to go ahead and offset that from the second note ever so slightly. And then we're going to go take the fourth note in the chord and offset that slightly from the third one. And we get sort of a little more lively vibe. So I'm just going to delete this because we didn't change that. That's pretty much the main pattern that you hear throughout the track, but we're going to go ahead and just duplicate this track, and we're going to layer it with a marimba to give it that more sort of island vibe. So we're going to bring in Logic's Sculpture, and we're going to bring in the classic marimba. I believe it's found under Mallet Instruments. Just going to go ahead and lower the volume for now. I'm going to duplicate this. So this is a little bit too high. We're going to get some of those lower tones in there by taking the first 2 notes in the chord and just copying that down. Let's go ahead and layer that with our piano. I'm just going to go ahead and add in a delay on this one. We're going to bring our classic EDM delay. And maybe we'll change the sound of Sculpture a little bit. The material slider right here. And that's what I love about Sculpture, is that we can easily change the sound just by moving this guy right here. For this piano, I'm just going to open up Logic's Smart Control. I'm going to cut out a little bit of the lows, maybe pull up a little bit of the highs. Add in some delay, some ambience, and some reverb. So that's pretty much our main sound that will be heard throughout the entire track. Let's go ahead and just sort of arrange as we go, as I like to do. So what we're going to do here is go ahead and bring in a bed track of a recording that happened on a beach, just to kind of set the mood and set the tone that, hey, we're on a beach, as the original track did. So I'm just going to drag in a beach sort of bed track right here, and it sounds something like this. So just some background ambience, and these keys right here are simply going to fade up for the intro. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So we're just going to fade these up by doing some automation. And we get something like this for the intro. And then we're going to duplicate this. We're not going to copy over our automation. And I'm going to bring in another beach sort of bed track that sets the tone underneath all the instruments throughout the entire song. So next, let's go ahead and just duplicate this out. We're not going to copy the automation. And we're going to bring in Logic's EXS24 sampler instrument, and we're going to bring in a clap. Using the iSpy drum kit that I've created for this tutorial. And let's go ahead and draw in that pattern right over here. I'm going to go ahead and just add in some reverb here. I'm going to use Logic Space Designer. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track. And we're going to bring in those percussion woodblock hits that we hear. I'm going to turn down the reverb on this a little bit and pull this up a little bit louder. And now this drum pattern essentially goes for the full 12 bars. And then right before the drop hits and more drums get added, we get sort of this build up effect track. So let's go ahead and build that right now. Let's create a new software instrument track. And we're going to bring in Logic's ESP polyphonic synth, and we're going to create that sort of effect from scratch using this synthesizer. And we're going to use just the noise generator. Let's go ahead and just draw that in right here. So this comes in at the last 2 bars before the drums drop. Just go ahead and edit that sound. Just set the loop here. So we're gonna bring our attack all the way up, so we get sort of this build effect. Pull our decay all the way down. We'll pull our sustain all the way up, roughly. We'll increase our reverb, and we're gonna pull up our frequency to about 2 o'clock. And there's that sort of wind effect buildup that you hear in the track. Next, what we're going to do, we're just going to EQ a little bit of the lows out because we don't need it. And we'll just boost a little bit in the highs. Let's go ahead and lower that in the mix. To blend it in better, I'm going to bring in a delay. So Logic's Echo. And I'm going to bring in another instance of Logic Space Designer Reverb. Just so it kind of sits a little bit better there. And then what we're going to bring in here is a reverse crash that leads into the drum drop once again. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag that in right here. And I'll put it here, line it up with the end of the bar. I'm just going to speed this up a little bit to be 1 bar in length. So something like that. And I guess we can jump the gun a little bit for the next bar and bring in that crash. All right, so next let's go ahead and just bring in the rest of the drums. Let's go ahead and just copy this over. We won't copy the automation and copy this over once again. And let's go ahead and let's bring in those hi-hats to start off with. So we're gonna go ahead and duplicate this track. Then we're gonna go ahead and just draw in another 4-bar pattern. And we're gonna draw in those hi-hats. All right, so we get this quick stutter edit at the beginning of the bar. I'm just gonna go ahead and draw those in. Let's make that a little faster edit at a 30-second note hits. So this pretty much duplicates itself, just like that. We get a little pitch down hi-hat right over here. And we get that once again over here. Then we get another stutter hi-hat hits over here as well. Now what happens here is it sort of fades down in velocity as the roll hits. So we're going to just drop down the velocity like that. And we're going to do the same thing over here, except we're going to do the opposite. We're going to build up the velocity as the roll plays out. And this is our hi-hat pattern. So I'm going to bring up the attack a little bit to soften up this hit. All right, next let's go ahead and bring in our kick. So we're going to duplicate this drum track, draw in a 4-bar pattern, and draw in those kicks. There's our kick. Let's go ahead and duplicate this track and bring in those rides. Now what happens here, also the velocity kind of dwindles as the rides play out. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I'll lower this crash a little bit. All right, next let's go ahead and bring in a snare. All right, so there's our pattern pretty much over there. Next, all we have to do is bring in those gliding 808s. We're going to create a new software instrument track. And we're going to bring in that 808 preset we use for every remake that we do. It is the 808 preset. And I'm just going to leave it just like that for now. We're just going to draw in the pattern first, and then we'll get to the sound design, as that's how I like to work. I like to do the pattern and then figure out the sound. Easier working with 808s when it's in its high pitched form. Let's go ahead and drop this down an octave. And the way I drop down my notes just like this is I hold down Shift Option and I use the arrow key up and down to bring it down to a low octave. So let's open up our ES2. Let's bring in some distortion, bring it up to about 10 o'clock. Let's pull up our drive. Pull up our attack a little bit. Pull down our sustain. There's a lot of stops in this 808, so I'm going to lower my release so it kind of releases when my note stops. I'm going to pull up my glide to about 11 o'clock. Now the only thing that we're going to adjust right here on the first note is an extreme pitch bend. For playing this out, I'd just use my keyboard to do this pitch bend. But since I want to physically show you what's happening, I'm going to open up this right here. I'm going to change my controller assignment to, now it's going off my screen, but I'm changing it to pitch bend. And what we're going to do here is pitch bend this 808 right here so it goes whoa, just something like that. So here we go. We're going to pitch this up. I'm going to push this all the way up. So it kind of goes up, and then we're going to drop it down right here. So it's going to go up to down. Let's do something like that. That's pretty much our 808 right there. Then that's pretty much the track right there. All it takes now is just taking some of these pieces and arranging it along the track. But for the most part, you got the arrangement down right here and all of the elements that you need to make a full remake for iSpy. So let's go ahead and listen back to everything we've just put together. Sit back, relax, and let's take a listen. And that's the iSpy remake done in Logic Pro X. For your Logic users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you guys. You can find that as a downloadable link in the description box below this video. For your non-Logic users out there, I got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all these MIDI stems here and any of the samples that you heard in this track, including these beach bed tracks and of course the drum kit. So you can import that into your DAW and create your own remake of iSpy by Kyle featuring Lil Yachty. If you have a question on this, you can ask me in the comment section below. For more good videos like this one, remember to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Talk to you all soon. Later. Peace.